Okay, what I want to do today is I want to replace this pedestal sink with a small little vanity that will fit right in this area. Like this one right here. The first step obviously is to take out the old sink. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm placing these little Tupperware buckets underneath the supply lines. I'm going to turn off the supply lines, both the hot and the cold. Alright.
The next step is to remove the U-trap. There's a plastic nut that you should be able to turn off by hand. And you may have another one on the top end as well, so check it before you just yank it out.
Got that.
With the water supply turned off, we can disconnect the supply lines from the pipe.
That's the hot water supply line. Just letting that drain out. I'm going to do the same thing to the cold water. Alright, now there are a couple screws holding the top section in place. And I believe that's all that's holding this top section in place, so I'm going to remove those. Get that one loose. Got that screw out and working on the other side. So unfortunately this screw is just spinning and spinning. It's not coming out. So I'm going to have to cut it out because it's loose on the back end. Okay, so now that that's out, I should just be able to pull this out. And I would like to keep this hardware if I can. So I'll move this. Okay, so we're able to get that out. I'm going to have to put something new in there. But I can take this out. Okay.
The vanity that I'm replacing the sink with comes in two sections, the cabinet section and the sink section. My next step is going to be to make sure that the cabinet section will fit in place.
Okay, I'm ready to try to line this up and install this guy. Hook it up into the wall, but I need to drill holes into the new vanity, and then the bolts are going to go into the wall to keep it attached. Okay, so I got my marks, and now I'm going to measure it to make sure that they're consistent. About 30 and a half, a little below 30 and a half. Okay, now it is time to drill. Alright, let's see here if we just got it perfect or if we're going to need to drill a little bit bigger to give our screws some wiggle room.
On the other end of the hole on the right, the original bolt that helped hold the old pedestal sink in place is still there. I just need to make sure I can reach it and thread into it. In the hole on the left, we heard the other end of the bolt fall behind the wall, so we're going to replace it with something. I'm going to use a toggle bolt to secure the left side of the vanity. A toggle bolt will collapse down so it can fit inside a hole like this one, but has spring-loaded wings that will open when pushed in deep enough inside a hollow wall, bracing itself against the wall to hold its screw in place. Once we have everything lined up, we can tighten it into place.
Okay, so that is now in place. Okay, so I want to get the faucet ready. So I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit before putting it on the new sink.
If you don't have a gasket for your faucet, you can just use a bead of plumber's putty along the bottom to make one. When you're ready to place the faucet in the new sink, you can use the same faucet coupling nut that we unscrewed earlier to remove the faucet from the old sink.
Okay, we got our drain. Okay, so before I can put that on, I should do a bead of plumber's putty, a ring of it, right around there. Okay, now I can put this guy in. Okay, and eventually it won't go any further, so then we have to tighten it up with our nut here. And I'm trying to make sure that this nub stays pointing towards the back. And I'm just going to tighten this by hand at first, and then I'm going to use these channel locks to really tighten this down. And we'll come back and peel off that excess putty. But first, okay, so now we got that in there. Now I can peel up some of that extra putty. And I'll come back later to really get that good. But right now, I'm going to put our little drain in there. Okay. And with our drain in, we take our lever here. Make sure we get it and stick it up. And we have this guy and this guy. This just goes through here, but it's going to connect with this. And with this. And I can tighten this. And then ideally, that should activate this. That looks like it works for me.
Now that the faucet's in place, I'm going to add some Teflon tape to the inlets of the faucet and then attach the supply lines.
Now the sink is almost ready to drop on. The only other thing I want to do is get our silicone ready. All right. Now we can drop this on.
We can now screw in our drain nuts. And then we can reconnect our supply lines to the water. And once we open up the water supply valves, we should be good to test everything out. Once we have everything hooked up below correctly, we can screw in our door. And here we are, here's the finished product. We have space underneath for storage, and we still have access to all the supply lines and pipes.